Okay, so um, you're probably familiar with the narrative, right? The one about retail struggling.
Yeah, those stories about shops closing down, it feels pretty constant.
It really does, like a steady drumbeat.
Yeah.
But what if we zoom in a bit, specifically on Copenhagen,
Ah, okay.
on its main shopping streets, because, well, something else seems to be happening there, a kind of twist in the story.
Absolutely. Because while the broader picture across Denmark does point to contraction,
Yeah, fewer stores overall.
exactly. But the main arteries in Copenhagen, the big shopping streets, they seem to be telling a distinctly different story.
And it feels worth digging into, right?
Yeah.
This apparent contradiction.
Definitely.
Okay, so let's unpack it. I mean, if you look at the national data first, it's pretty hard to ignore.
The SMV bandmark analysis.
Yeah. Between 2012 and 2022, roughly 1 in 5 Danish retail businesses just stopped, cease operations.
Wow, 1 in 5. That's a really significant shakeup.
It is. And the main reason highlighted.
Well, it's the fundamental shift, isn't it? How we shop. Yeah, the rise of online retail, it's just created this fiercely competitive environment, especially tough for the smaller players.
The ones without maybe the big digital setup.
Precisely. I mean, think about the convenience of clicking a button.
Mm.
It's a tough act for, say, a standalone boutique to follow.
Right. So that paints a clear picture. Headwinds for retail generally. But then,
But then Copenhagen.
exactly, then we start hearing these whispers, this buzz about a resurgence in the old city center.
Hmm.
Empty shops suddenly becoming like hot property. It almost feels like two different realities side by side.
It really does. And this isn't just, people chatting. There are figures.
Okay.
Frischman and Wakefield RED, the real estate firm, they point to a real positive shift since summer 2023, actually.
A shift in leasing retail space,
Yeah, leasing activity. Vacancy rates, basically, the empty shops were around 15%.
which sounds quite high.
It is, but they're projected to drop to maybe around 9% this year.
Okay, so falling vacancy means more demand, people wanting those spaces.
That's exactly what it suggests, yes. Increased demand.
Now, here's where I think it gets really interesting. This new appetite, it's not spread evenly, is it?
No, it seems quite focused.
The area around a Torf, where you've got Hermes, Louis Vuitton, Tiffany, that kind of high-end zone.
That area is seeing particularly intense interest, yes. Prime real estate.
And the rents, I hear they've been climbing significantly.
Like, that's the report. Soaring rent levels there.
What is it about that area that's so magnetic right now?
Well, what's fascinating, and Christian Vingard from Cushman and Wakefield mentioned this, is the clear pull for international brands.
So not just local businesses moving around.
No, a lot of demand from foreign brands wanting to sort of establish a physical presence, set up shop right there in Copenhagen.
And this is driving the leasing activity this year.
It seems to be a major catalyst, yes. A high level of activity securing new leases all through 2024, driven by these global players wanting a footprint in the city center.
It really says something about Copenhagen's reputation, doesn't it? Its appeal.
It does. It speaks volumes.
So, okay, it's international brands,
Mm-hmm.
typically medium to large, well-known names, I assume.
Generally, yes. These aren't usually small independents driving this specific boom.
And why Copenhagen, do you think? What's the specific allure for these, international giants right now?
That's the million kroner question, isn't it? It's likely a mix of things.
Like,
Well, Copenhagen has a strong international profile, right? It attracts tourists, sure, but also has a relatively affluent local population.
okay.
And for luxury brands especially, having a store in a city like Copenhagen, it boosts their image. It gives a physical touch point.
Right. Somewhere people can actually experience the brand, not just see it online.
Exactly. It's about brand building, creating that immersive experience, tangibility.
That makes sense. These flagship stores become more than just shops. They're almost like brand embassies.
That's a good way to put it. Brand embassies in prime locations.
And we are hearing about specific brands opening up this year. COS, New Balance.
Samsi and Samsi, I can know too.
These aren't small startups, are they? They're established players making pretty significant investments.
Exactly. These openings signal real commitment. And it's important to remember something else too.
What's that?
Signing the lease is just step one.
Ah, the time lag.
Yes. There's often a delay between signing and actually opening the doors. Could be, I don't know, up to 2 years sometimes.
Why so long? Renovations, permits.
Both. Big renovations to fit the brand's look and feel, navigating building regulations, getting permits, it all takes time.
So the leases being signed now mean we'll see these new stores popping up over the next, well, months and maybe even years.
Precisely. The activity now translates into changes on the street later on.
Okay, so we've got strong demand, big international names signing leases. But what about right now? What's actually available?
Good question.
We saw a snapshot, didn't we? Listings from Magazinet 9805 via locallybasin.dk. Looking at those, what jumps out?
Well, the first thing is the sheer range, both in size and cost.
Okay, give me an example.
You've got, say, Frederick's Brigade, 1,172 square meters. But the rent, over 9,300 kroners per square meter per year.
Wow. That really shows the premium for that specific street, doesn't it?
Definitely highlights it. But then you see others. Sverigade 3, 120 square meters, much lower rent per square meter. Or Kronprinsensgade 9.
Different price points even on nearby streets.
Absolutely. Look at Kamagergade, 28, much bigger space, 424 square meters. But the cost per square meter is lower than Frederiksbergade.
And then even more affordable options. Pilstrade, Storkongensgade.
Exactly. Storkongensgade 63, 186 square meters, rent around 2,500 kroner per square meter. Mikkelbriggersgade, even lower. Studystrade, Vesterbrigade.
Okay, so quite a variety. What does that tell us?
It tells us that even within these central shopping areas, it's not like one single market. There are distinct zones, different price points.
So while the absolute top spots might be seeing fierce competition and high rents,
there are still opportunities, perhaps, for different kinds of businesses in other central spots, maybe slightly less high profile, but still central.
yeah, that makes sense. Different levels of foot traffic, maybe. Different character on each street.
Probably all of that. Foot traffic, the specific vibe of the street, the kind of customer a business is trying to reach. A luxury brand might need the visibility of Frederiksbergade.
Whereas another retailer might find Storkongensgade perfectly suitable, with slightly lower rent.
Precisely. It reflects the diversity within the city center itself.
Okay, let's try and pull this together then. Synthesize it. We started with this national story. Retail decline. Driven largely by online shopping hitting traditional stores.
Yep. The 1 in 5 statistic.
Right. But then, smack bang in the heart of Copenhagen, we're seeing this leasing boom, driven by big international brands wanting in. How do we square that? How do we reconcile these opposing trends? What's the key?
I think it really highlights how the role of the physical store is evolving, especially in prime locations.
Okay.
It seems that while those broader forces, like online shopping, are definitely real and having an impact.
Yeah, they haven't gone away.
No, but places like central Copenhagen, these prime urban centers, they seem to have unique advantages. Things that online just can't replicate fully.
Light.
Well, the sheer number of people walking past, foot traffic, the prestige, the cachet of having a physical shop in a major European capital.
Brand visibility.
Huge brand exposure, yes. And these seem to be really powerful motivators, especially for those international brands looking to, cement their global status.
So it's less about just selling stuff on the spot and more about the experience, the brand statement.
I think so. Creating an experience, reinforcing brand identity in a really tangible way that you just don't get clicking online.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. These flagship stores become almost like living advertisements.
Exactly. Drawing people in, creating a buzz that goes beyond just the immediate sale in that store.
So maybe the resilience of these central shopping streets is tied to them offering something more than just buying things.
It could be. Perhaps these areas are transforming, becoming more like curated destinations.
Focused on unique brand experiences, attracting a certain kind of shopper who values that physical interaction and maybe the prestige.
Possibly. While the everyday sort of routine shopping, maybe that increasingly moves elsewhere, online or to local neighborhood centers, and the city center becomes more of a showcase.
Interesting. So for you listening, the key takeaway here is really this contrast. Denmark overall has seen a big drop in retail stores.
A significant contraction, yes.
But Copenhagen's main shopping streets, they seem to be bucking that trend quite strongly right now.
Driven by that strong interest from international brands, fueling leasing and hinting at a potentially vibrant future for these core spots.
So maybe a future with a different flavor than the past.
Right. Which leads us to a final thought, something for you to mull over.
Okay.
What does this concentration, this focus of international brands in city centers, what does it really signal about the future of how we shop?
Is it just a Copenhagen thing? Because of its unique appeal?
Or could it be maybe an early sign of a bigger reshaping of physical retail everywhere, in this digital age?
Are we looking at a future where city centers become these hubs for flagship brand experiences?
While the more functional shopping shifts online or closer to home?
It's definitely a fascinating dynamic to watch unfold.
Absolutely. Worth keeping an eye on.